Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Engine Trouble. I'm your host, Ryan. Typically, I'm behind the camera, but today you have me in front of the camera. Sean is not here, so you'll have to bear with me. In today's episode, we're going to attempt to change some tires out. I have made the poor life choice of studying a set of tires so I can go ride in the snow and ice. At least my wife thinks it's a stupid idea, but we're going to give it a shot. In all the years of riding, I've never had studded tires, and so I just figured, why not? Let's give it a shot. So we're gonna try. I've already swapped out the front tire. We're gonna work here on the rear tire, and we're gonna go over that. So just a quick little tour here. So these are the tires that we're going to be running. So I took a set of tires off of my. These are the OEM tires that came on my bike, and when I swapped them out, I decided to stud them. So you'll notice that the rears are not only just zipped in, but they're glued in. I did read that it's not uncommon for bikes to throw these things out, so I decided to send some Gorilla Glue in with them in hopes that they stick. These things are super. I went a little overkill with the stud, so I don't think we're going to be slipping, and traction will probably be plentiful. That should be fun. So for today, we're down here in the basement workshop. Place gets a little messy during the winter, just because this is where I come to do all of my work most of the time. So anyway, a few of our basic tools that we're going to be using today. You got some tire irons here. You definitely need 2 of these. 3 is ideal. 4 is even better. I'm probably going to pick up another one of these at some point here in the future because it's a super helpful one. Just basic hand tools for a few things, a couple of wrenches, and some C-clamps, and a mallet. We'll go over what all of this gets used for as we get into this. So, admittedly, I am not a professional or even very well versed in changing tires on motorcycles. I started changing tires as a kid. We used to change tires on our bikes all the time, so I did that. And then when I worked as a mechanic, a car mechanic, I got spoiled by using a tire machine. So I am a little rusty on this. The general principles are the same. We're gonna struggle through this together. It's gonna be a great time. So anyway, first things first, we're gonna take the air out of the tube that's in here. So to do that, you need a valve core tool. So you can have an actual tool. It looks like this, or you can, like I run these caps that have a core tool built into the top, just in case I need to do any work on the trail. It's usually helpful just to have whatever you can have with you is generally helpful. So first things first, we're going to do that. We're going to pull this core out and let this bleed down. Sean, these sections are the ones that I would just assume that you'll edit out, because there's not really a lot of benefit to watching me pull a valve core out. So I'm sure you'll have plenty of stitching to do with this one, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, back to our show here. So valve core looks like that, just a little piece here. I'm going to angle this camera down so you guys can get a good look as to what's going on here as we move through this process. Put your valve core, it's a little small thing, put it somewhere where it's not going to get knocked off. You don't need to go replacing those. They're easy to find at Tractor Supply or any auto parts store, but still, why replace it if you don't have to, right? So let's get you guys angled down here. Alright, so here's our tire. We already pulled the valve core out, as you saw. Now the next steps here are to take the nut off of the valve stem itself and loosen up our rim lock. So those are the 2 things that we're going to... Alright, and we're back. So I pulled the valve core out. The air's bled out of that. I pulled the nut off the valve stem, and we've loosened the rim lock. The next step I like to do is just make sure that rim lock moves freely. Sometimes they get bound up right here at where the hole is into the rim, but generally they're pretty easy to move. Next thing, breaking the bead. So you have to do this on any tire. Oh, by the way, this setup that I have here is obviously really homemade and not anything professional by any means. So what I have here is a couple blocks of wood to support the rim and support the pressure I'm going to apply to the rim throughout this process, and then just a piece of threaded rod with various spacers underneath to support the hub, so that I can turn it and move it as I need to. One of which is an old bearing I threw in there just to make it even easier to turn. But just really the goal is to support the hub, so that you can turn this thing wherever you need to, and then support the outside of the rim. So in this case, I got a vise here on the edge of the workbench, put a block of wood in there, that allows me to adjust it to the right height, and then I just have a block of wood over here that's roughly the right height, so that it can't lean over too far. It's going to get caught by a block of wood either way. But all right, back to task at hand here. So I have these C-clamps here. You can use a lot of different stuff to do this, but the C-clamps seem to work pretty good. Break bead. You can, they don't have to be C-clamps. They can be plenty of other things. So just get this on there. Just make sure that the bottom of the clamp is on the rim. Yeah, see, this tire hasn't been on there all that long, so it's pretty easy to break the bead. Sometimes if the tire's been on there for a long time, it can be kind of a pain in the butt, but this one is pretty easy, so it just requires a little bit of force. Another very important piece, little spray bottle. Get yourself one of these. This is from Target, probably cost me 99 cents or something. Soapy water. I don't see in a lot of videos I've seen guys do, nobody's using soapy water, which I don't really understand. Just makes the process a lot easier. So we spray that up, and you definitely do want tire irons. When I was a kid, I was talking about how I used to change tires out on my bikes and stuff. And back then, I would just use screwdrivers, which was fine. I mean, those tires are easy enough to move around and pliable enough that you don't really need tire irons. But when you get to something like this, where this is a rugged tire, it's a tough carcass, it's hard to manipulate. Get the right stuff, because otherwise you'll just pinch tubes and waste your time, and it's very frustrating. So I would not suggest just winging it. So first one, I like to get this one in there. So I'm going to work this thing in there and just get it just over the lip of the tire bead. Okay. So I'm just over the lip. This is the hardest part. Once you get it started, it's not as bad. But definitely the hardest part. And I like to get all three of mine set, because it's a lot harder to get them set after you've popped one side. There's a lot of pressure here. Okay. All right, so we're gonna try to work this. The other important piece of this is that you need this broken over here too, because it's really helpful if you can get this other bead into the drop center. So you see how this is pushing down the drop center of the rim, the center of the rim comes in towards the center of the hub. If you can get your bead to sit in there while you're pulling on the opposite side, it makes it a lot easier. So and there's tricks you can do. There's actually tools you can use for that. And I do have one. I don't have it down here with me. It's currently MIA, so that's a problem. Okay, so now that we got that, we can use the sprocket. See how we were using the sprocket to hold that one? So now I'm gonna I'm going to start to like leapfrog these things around here. Continue to lube this up as we go. This makes our life a lot easier. So okay, put that one down because it's the shortest of the three, not as helpful. But you can see how this one, I stuck it in there and it just kind of stays there, and it just holds the bead up out of the rim while we work our way around, which is helpful. Like I said, once you get it started, it just kind of goes pretty easy, especially if you're keeping it fucking lubed up like this. The rear tire is also the easier tire to do because it's typical, especially if it's an 18-inch. It's just got more sidewall to it. The front tire is usually a pain in the ass. Once you get closer to the rim lock, it gets tougher to do, but not too bad. Let's see, we're right there. Okay, so that's it. So the goal of this thing is now we're gonna have to pause and flip this tire around and get the other side. We want to get both beads to the outside of the rim. Once it's to the outside of the rim, I'll show you what we do, but we just basically pull the two apart. It's easier than you think it is. Alright, so I flipped this thing around, needed to readjust it a little bit, so when I flip it around, it sits a little bit higher, so you have to just re-block it so it's supported, because again, you got to push down on this thing. So as you can see though, there's my valve core. The bead's already broken, so what's first step? Lube it up. So we're going to lube it up. We're going to work this area. We're going to come right through this area where the bead lock is, just to get that out of the way and done. There's the tube pushed right back, so let's get this thing all sprayed up here, and we'll get back into this with our tire iron. That's going to go nice and easy. All right. Again, you can use, in this case, the brake rotor. Before we used the sprocket. Same thing. So now we're going to work this one in here. Okay. And we're going to rotate this thing. And so I'm trying to do as much of the prying and force over here where I have this block fixed in the vise. That way I don't have to worry about, like, that one just fell over. There's a million different setups. You can buy a nice setup too. In the future, I probably will, just not yet. This might be too much of a bite. Sometimes you gotta take smaller bites. So when you're doing this, tire irons are nice and rounded, so you don't really scratch the rims up too much. If you do use a screwdriver, which I would strongly advise against, you may scratch up your rim. There's a fix for that though, and we'll go over that. There's some marks on this one, so we'll probably touch this one up before we put the new tire on. Yeah, see, This is coming really easy now. I don't even have it lubed up. It seems to want to. Okay. That's it right there. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we have, like we said, we got both beads are on the outside of the rim now. So now this rim is essentially sitting in the tire. All right. So let's get this off of here. Nothing special. Big union nut, a couple washers, threaded rod, nothing special. You can easily make this at home. All right. Ooh, fucker. So that's it. You just pull, you separate the two halves. Try not to bust your finger open like I did, and you'll be good. There's a little bit of force, but that's okay. So we're gonna pull our tube out because we need it for the other one. So I will put the valve core back in this thing, and I will put some air in it because it just makes it a little bit easier if it has a little bit of air. Just holds its shape a little bit when you put it in. GoPro, stop recording. All right, so I put the valve core back in the stem, and I put some pressure in this thing. This does two things. It makes it a little bit easier to get it back in the tire, in my opinion, because it holds its shape and it's not just some wet noodle that you're stuffing in there. Because what can happen sometimes is when you stuff it in and it's totally flat. I've had it where it it kind of like folds over on itself and it's stuck like that. It's annoying. So I just rather just put some air in it. The other thing that it does is allow me to make sure at this point that I didn't puncture this thing in the removal process. This is holding air. We're good. So now I'm just going to set this off to the side here for a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab this very sharp, ready to cut through some ice tire, and we are going to get this tube in here. So it's just, you can see even with air in it, if you can see down here, it's like wrinkling up. That's what I was talking about. If it doesn't have shape, it can be really annoying to get in and make sure that it's not folded over on itself somewhere. So now you just kind of work this thing around, but you can see where it is in, it sits nicely in there. We're not going to keep all this air in there the whole time, but for this step, I find it to be a little bit nicer to work with. So we'll just keep working our way around here. And the tube is also wet. You guys can probably see that, so that helps a little bit too. You have to slide in there. Yep. All right, almost there. Get in there. All right, so there. So now you see, as we spin this thing around, we got no wrinkles in this thing. It's nice. It's sitting nicely in there. All right. So the next thing to do is I'm going to put this down, and we're going to mount this rim up like we had it before, so that we can get that tire back on. So yeah, literally nothing special. This is just shit I have laying around the shop. You can probably see over here, a stack of bearings from something else, and another bearing over there. This is the little press that usually presses all the bearings in and out. Real simple stuff. So we are going to start sprocket side down. Not that it really makes too much of a difference to me, but if I got to work with a bunch of sharp stuff, I'll keep sprocket can go down for this. Let's see. That's good. I'm gonna get union nut. Sean, feel free to cut out whatever you want here. I mean, I don't really see much of a benefit to people seeing everything that is going on here. Try to make it pretty obvious what's important to see and what's not. I mean, you could set this up 1,000 different ways. None of them would be wrong. That's all we want. So the tricky thing with the rim locks get a lot of people, is that these wings here have to sit on the inside of the tire behind the bead. So if you can imagine it, the tire is here and the rim is here. This lock's job is to be tightened down towards the rim, and as it comes into the rim, it grabs the bead of the tire and kind of drives it into the rim as well. The point of that is so that the tire doesn't spin on the rim when you put power to the ground. Not going to be applicable for every bike, but obviously it's been an issue, so here we are with rim locks. But so they can be kind of a pain in the ass. I had last night when I was doing the front tire, I had it all mounted up, and then it wasn't filling out when I was putting air to it like I wanted, and it was because the bead was hung up on the rim lock. So definitely something you want to look at. Make sure you're paying attention to. On a video I was watching, the guy who was doing it, he put the tire back on, like when he was at this point here. He started with the rim lock in the valve stem for the tube, because he said it's you have the least amount of pressure there right now. If you wait till the end when you're trying to get the tire like the final inch over back seated on the rim, there's going to be a lot of pressure there, and he's not wrong. So that's what we're going to do as well. So lining it up so it's right here for me. We're going to pick this tire up, and first things first, I am going to insert this valve stem, if I can, into its home. It doesn't really want to do that, so we're going to let some air out of this thing and pull it out of the tire a little bit. Because what I want to do here is I want to get it through like that, and then I just want to put the nut back on it. Nut doesn't need to be tight at all. Nothing's going to be tight until we get this tire fully seated. But just get it on there so you got a little bit of thread protrusion, and now you can kind of work it. So the first goal here is going to be, like I said, with that rim lock, now's a really good time to make sure that the lower bead here is seated on the right side of the rim lock. So I just made sure that was like that, and then I pushed the rim lock in so that it's accessible. But the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to spray this up with some of that soapy water, and we're going to work that lower bead back over the rim. Hopefully it's not too much of a struggle, but it doesn't really seem like it wants to play all that nicely right now, so we're going to see. on these other sections you're probably going to have to cut out. It's just me struggling with this.
So there are points in here where Rye says, you know, you don't have to record this, or, you know, you can edit this out. But I left it in here for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I really hate when I watch a how-to video and it doesn't include in explicit detail every single part of what I'm trying to do. And I'm no mechanic. My brother is. He's worked on everything. I have not worked on everything. And a lot of times what's illuminating to me is when I go, hey, I can't get this, or hey, this isn't going where it needs to, or whatever it is I'm struggling with. And then I watch him take a stab at it, and all he does is really like try in a similar way that I was doing, but he just tries harder. And he's more patient, and he takes more time to actually try and accomplish the task. And for me, that's really informative because a lot of times I get frustrated. There's a patience that mechanics develop that is second to none. I mean, it's just crazy because you'll watch him just get fucked by this tire for 40 minutes. And he's just patient. He just works it and works it and works it. And then finally he accomplishes his goal. I will take a stab at it for like 5 minutes and then get nuclearly mad and say that it can't be done. And then somebody who's more patient than me can come in and do it. So I left all this in because I think it's helpful for people to see the entire process. Like, obviously you can skip ahead if you want to, but if you really want to see like moment to moment how the tire goes on a rim, I think it's really informative. And for me, I know if I was looking at a video of this, I would want to see.
So it's probably worth noting here.
Hold on.
This is not the same way I took this tire apart. You can do it that way too. I just typically this goes a little bit easier than this, and in the long run I found it to be faster because you're not stuffing the rim back into the middle and having to work you don't have to flip the tire over to work it, because once you get this side pushed down over here, it's basically where it needs to be, and then you just work the top and you're not flipping the tire. So typically, like I said, when I did the front tire last night, this portion went much easier than this is going currently. So not ideal, but it is what it is.
So anyways, won't take up too much more of your time.
Right now,
I just, every time I watch a video, they're like, how to do this, and then I watch it and they skip like the exact part that I need. And one of my main inspirations for making this channel and the videos that we do is to explain in like explicit step-by-step detail how to do things, so that we never leave somebody hanging with like, oh, you skipped that part. You watch a video on like how to retile your shower, and they're like, okay, so first you rip all the tile out. Next step, is you retile it, and then like there's an editing cut to a perfectly tiled shower, and you're like, I need to know all the shit in between those two. So that always really frustrated me. Rye's doing a great job here of really going into detail, and you can really see him struggle. Like, this is what you can expect if you want to mount your own tires. So I left it in here. We'll continue to watch him work with these things. Look at him, he's doing such.
We are almost there. Finally. Ooh. And there it is. After a little bit of a struggle bus, we got it. So now, like I was saying, we only have to set this bead. And again, we're gonna go after this area with the rim lock first. So we're gonna spray this up. And we're gonna give it a shot here. Okay, so when I pried this back, I was looking to see where the rim lock was, and it was sitting forward, and that's not where I want it to be. I want it to be back. I'll even back this nut off some more if I can and keep pushing it in, because I want it as far back as possible so that I don't get it seated incorrectly. So now I'm going to take another iron and try to get it in here and just kind of try to work this real quick. See if I can't get this set right now. Okay. Good. Let's see if we lost that one for a second there. Okay. And then that's still back. All right, so we're good there. Let me just get that. Nope, I just lost that. Shit. Okay. I'm actually going to use that short one. Try and get it to stay there for a second. I'm going to go back this way. Okay. That thing's still where I want it. Good. Alright, so now I'm just going to start working my way around this tire. Like I said, the hard part is over there by that rim lock. So using my block of wood over here, we're just going to continue to leapfrog this thing, like I said. As we get closer, I'll have to take smaller bites, but for right now, this is going really nice. Okay, hope that doesn't affect me too much. Okay. Now here's where that drop center comes into play. Okay, so I need my block of wood back. to press on this. Yeah, get it right down in there. Pin it. All right, come on. Yep, that's. It does not like this block of wood, huh? Jesus. So I'm going to leave that in there and try to promote it. Alright, and then I'm going to spray this up. We're going to take some more bites out of this thing. Okay. Oh. I gotta reposition. The block of wood is not working anymore. Let's see. Can I get this into there? Ooh, too far. Okay, right there. Get this on here. Come on. Come on. So this section, it's right there, just needs a little push. Now, this. All right. Okay, after that struggle, now we're gonna put some air in this thing and see if we achieved our goal here or not. I have no idea if we made it or did not. So stay tuned, sports fans. Let's see what happened. Oh. Right. Put some fucking air in this thing. See what happens. Where is my buddy pump? GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording.